All right, this is SFBarkast. I am Jeff Cleary.
I am Andrew Lauder.
And Andrew, where are we today?
We are at Dalva.
Dalva.
D-A-L-V-A.
This bar has been here like forever because
It has, yeah.
this is like a really easy commute for me because it's like basically, I don't know, 200 yards or 200 feet from my apartment.
This may actually, in fact, I'm pretty certain it's probably the closest bar to where you live. That we've done. So, we haven't done the Delirium. So I should say, clarify by saying that we've done because Kilowatt's probably a few more steps because you have to cross the street.
And Gestalt.
Gestalt is
pretty close.
As the crow flies,
as
Gestalt
the crow
might be
flies,
just as close.
Who you, Luke and Luke Duke, or
Yes, exactly.
Bo and Luke Duke?
Well, I only travel places by jumping over things, so I can fly like the General Lee.
So if people haven't figured this out yet, it is on 16th Street.
It is
between Albion and Valencia.
Amazing! Like you almost had to think about that for a second. And
I know exactly.
Where
the fuck do I live?
For 20 some odd years.
Yeah, and it's it actually is kind of like this nondescript bar where it's like, you know, this, from the outside it looks like really dark inside, and it's just like this really long bar that has like this other bar in the back called the Hideout.
Yeah, well, that was sort of a new. I mean, that hasn't been here the whole time, right? Like that's sort of like that came with like tech money and everything. I think.
I don't know what it was before. I remember like maybe I just like never went back there. Maybe
I think it was just the back of the bar.
Maybe maybe it was the back of the bar. Maybe it was where like, you know, all the employees just hung out.
Well, I was gonna say though, like this bar, I feel like 20 years ago, this bar looks the most of what you think of today as being a hipster bar. And it was like, in a way, it looked way ahead of its time.
Yeah, it's almost like not fair because like it does actually look like a hipster bar.
Yeah.
But like it's been here for so long, it's not like
and it really hasn't changed.
It's not like a trick dog or a deer mom that just like kind of showed up and is like, yeah.
Right. Look at all that. I mean, this is claimed wood. There's nothing reclaimed about it. They claimed it the first time and have worn it out themselves.
We claimed this 20 years ago from this bar.
Exactly. But I mean, like the floors are sort of like dingy concrete. The tables are kind of these cool reclaimed wood-looking tables.
And
simple stools and stuff like that. It's like you say, it's dark. It's got some art in it, kind of like Latin American Club or something like that.
Yes. Actually, it hasn't changed that much. And actually, even though I live right around the corner, I hardly ever come to this bar. But every time I do, I'm like, why do I not come here more?
Yeah, like it. I mean, well, it has a very late night feel to it. So I can see where like let's assume you're the kind of person who likes to drink during the day or in the early afternoon.
Day drinking.
Then I can't see this place being that great during the day because it's so dark. But like, it's definitely like it's got a late night sort of like 1 in the morning kind of feel about it all the time.
It's almost like the mullet of bars because, there's like business in the front and like, I don't know, party in the back.
Right.
Where, I don't know if that analogy actually works, but like in the back that's where they have more of their kind of shishi drinks.
Oh, okay. So
the same people opened up the bar ABV, which is where Tokyo Go-Go, right across. So it's like, a stone's throw away from here.
We could literally, I was gonna say, like every week we could probably spend like 15 minutes going. Oh, and by the way, like Tokyo Go-Go, that's become ABV. This place,
exactly.
Used to be a homeless shelter, is now like a pizza restaurant.
Or every week we could say, like, the same people who own this own XYZ.
Right. The rich have gotten slightly richer, with the exception of Duncan and his buddies having to close their octopus-themed bar or whatever.
Do we have a Kickstarter going for Duncan yet?
There should be. I mean, like, he's a needy fellow.
So, yes, one of the things I do love about this bar, on Sunday nights they have this great karaoke here. And I don't know, Andrew, are you a fan of karaoke?
I'm a fan of imagining myself doing karaoke at 1 in the morning a lot more than I'm a fan of watching it. In fact, maybe it's how self-centered I am. Like,
yeah, I feel like I've known you for a long time, and I've only seen you do karaoke like twice.
Okay.
Once was with me when we sang Dust in the Wind in the San Fernando Valley.
Good for us.
And one time was, I think you were at the Mint, and you sang "There's no business like show business." Exactly exactly like Ethel Merman.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So they have a karaoke here on Sunday nights that is absolutely fantastic. Like completely, like the guy who does it, like he also like is. He's like a kindred spirit to me because they do a lot of like 70s soft rock.
Right.
And so if you want to come to a place and you're like, look, I want to sing Ride Like the Wind by Christopher Cross, this is the fucking place. Like if you want to go and sing Living on a Prayer, go to the Mint. Or go to any karaoke,
May I suggest the Gold Cane?
Yeah, for you, I suggest the Gold Cane. Go anywhere. Like, I swear to God, if you're going to karaoke and you say to your friends, look, I'm going to sing Living on a Prayer or Don't Stop Believing, just have someone shoot you in the fucking face. Because even though we all love those songs, like, that's not what we're here for. We're not not here to hear that, like, for the third time.
I do suffer from, like, if I'm listening to the radio or listening to, a playlist or something like that, and especially if I'm driving by myself or something like that, there are certain songs where I'm like, God damn it, the next time I'm at karaoke, like, I'm fucking owning this one.
I had one of those just recently, and it was, I love this song, Urgent, by Foreigner.
Right.
Because it's like, it actually, like, it has kind of like, almost like a techno feel to it. Like at the beginning where it's just like this sort of like repeating, like, polyrhythms going through the beginning of the song.
Well, for some reason, I was thinking of Kenny Loggins' like "This Is It," but you do it as a duet where one guy is Michael McDonald, because Michael McDonald has very little to do in that song, so that person will be standing there for like a minute and a half solid, and finally be able to go like, "You think that maybe it's over," and then that's it. He's done for the rest of the song.
I actually, one of my favorite like karaoke moments was I was in here once, and I really wanted to sing On My Own by Michael McDonald and Patti LaBelle. And so if anyone, of course I can't sing both parts.
Right.
But I found a beautiful African-American woman who was willing to sing the Patti LaBelle parts.
Right.
And let me tell you, she killed it.
Wow.
I killed the song. Everybody, when we were getting off stage, people were like, wow, she's really good. And I was like, yeah, well, what about a little something for me?
You're like, it's like a scene out of Showgirls or something like that. You're like passed over for your big shot.
I actually did sing Christopher Cross's Ride Like the Wind here once.
Ooh.
And here's when you realize that you fucked up a karaoke song. When you get off stage and someone goes, hey man, great choice. They don't say,
right,
good job.
You killed it, good job.
They say, yo, that's a great song, great choice.
I enjoyed it so much, I only listened to the instrumental part and tried to ignore what you were doing to it.
Exactly. Wow, the way you murdered that cat on stage, horrible.
Well, you know what, you don't realize, but Christopher Cross has a pretty hard voice to duplicate. I mean, like he's almost like a falsetto and like a weird nerdy sounding kind of.
He was just
dinge at the same time.
He was like this tall, heavy-set dude who had this high voice,
right.
And my God, he made it work. The '80s are so full of contradictions,
right?
The '80s were one of the most conservative decades ever,
right.
But who was one of the biggest stars, music stars was
Wang Chung. Oh wait, no.
Boy George.
Oh.
So the '80s started out with the Village People, pulling the wool over all of suburban America's eyes.
Right.
People were like, no, these guys aren't gay. They're talking about being in the Navy and going to the YMCA.
Straight as Liberace, goddammit.
And then in the middle of the '80s, the Reagan '80s, one of the biggest pop stars was Boy George, who is a openly gay, cross-dressing heroin junkie. And people were like, yeah, I love that guy. That guy's great. Yeah. More #1 hits. Culture Club.
Told my kid I want him to grow up to be just like Boy George.
Right.
Excellent.
What else have you done, Andrew? Have you done anything interesting in this last week?
Oh gosh, that's a loaded question. I went to Reno to visit my
I said
brother.
Interesting.
and I had a really good time with that. However, on Sunday, I decided, since I've had very limited exposure to it, that, you know what, like, let's drive through Lake Tahoe and like and see that, because that'll be fun. And
You haven't gone to Tahoe that much?
No, like hardly at all. And
It's pretty.
well, like so we drove through. Like it took like a little while to get like from Reno to like South Lake Tahoe, and then like getting through South Lake Tahoe was an ordeal. Like just stop and go traffic, like just and douches everywhere, like just horrible. And so then once you get out of that, then like we had to like snake all the way through to like Sacramento or to Placerville, and then Placerville to Sacramento took like another 2 hours. And so like the whole thing wound up taking like 6 hours to get home, and it was hot as fuck. And like
wait, so let me ask you, when were you trying to like get back on Sunday?
Yeah, it was like Sunday, and we left at like
Andrew, whose fault
11
is
in
this?
the morning. And
Still, it's your fault.
Oh, totally my fault. And the thing is, like, no one's more pissed about the whole day than I am at myself. Like, I'm just like, so I'm like ready to like tear the car apart, just like being mad at me.
I'm sure you were like, you know what? This is like one of those very rare moments where I wish I had kids so I could beat them.
Exactly. That must be such a release. Just be like,
oh my God,
that's a shitty day. Like,
don't you just want to like when you? It's like I know it's like you and your wife, and don't you just want to like you're stuck in traffic and you're so stressed out? Don't you just want to like turn around and just be like, you fucking kids, be quiet? And your wife's like, who are you talking to?
It's just not the same swinging your belt at an empty back seat. It's just no fun at all.
But did you like Reno?
I like Reno more and more each time I visit it. Like my brother just moved to a really cool area of it. It's sort of like up on a hill. I didn't even realize there were hills anywhere around Reno. But like, yeah, it's just kind of like
there's a lot the Sierra.
Well, no, but I mean like right next to Reno. I thought Reno was kind of flat and ugly.
Oh.
But like, but no, and there's actually like kind of a burgeoning art scene there. Like, believe it or not. Like
the best like dream catchers in all the Sierras.
Well, no, it's much more gritty, I think. Because like I mean, like there's kind of like there's some meth heads there, and then there's like kids that are like
so
rebelling against the meth heads or whatever.
Meth heads, so you know it's going to be artistic.
Exactly. Like, people got to do something once you lose all your teeth.
One of my favorite memories of Reno was in every like gambling Nevada city you go to. There's all these like huge casinos, but then there's also right next to those casinos pawn shops. And I was walking by a pawn shop, and right in the middle of like the huge like window display was a wheelchair.
Nice.
Like, yes. So like like whoever like sold that was just like, how much for this? Now someone carry me to the fucking tables.
Or that, or it was like their old like mother that they were in charge of pushing around. They were like, all right, Mom, like why don't you wait here in this ditch?
They're like, hey, how much for the wheelchair? I don't know, $100. How much for the woman in the wheelchair? I don't know, $50.
Like, she comes with it. But like, and I will say that like, as a gambling destination, Reno is much more depressing than Las Vegas even. Like, because you have these kind of like really grungy poor people like wandering from casino to casino there, and like not quite as many just fat loads as in Vegas. Like, these are people that are actually hungry and like and stuff like that. So it's a little depressing, but
yeah, I man, like I always like have fun in like Reno because it's like it's a small town.
Yeah, totally, yeah. And like I think you can have fun there, but I think like especially like during the day, the casino scene is pretty grim.
Here's one of the things, like if you're like somebody who really doesn't like a whole lot of competition, go to Reno. Because if you go to like Vegas, you're just like, oh man, there's like people here who have more money than me and they're better looking than me. Go to Reno. Reno, you're like, wait a minute, I'm the smartest, best looking, richest person here.
This segment is brought to you by Reno Rensport, which is my brother's business in Reno.
Give him a little plug?
Yeah, exactly.
Hope we're getting to wet our beaks on that.
Exactly, and reminding him that he's a big fish in a small pond at the same time.
Have you ever been to the hideout in the back of this place?
No, I haven't, and we tried to go there, and there was a private party, unfortunately.
Yeah, they're having a private party. Let me guess,
Annoying.
It's a private party for a tech company.
I doubt that. Actually, the Hideout, I remember when the Hideout first opened here, which was, maybe 8 or 9 years ago?
No idea.
It was hugely popular, much more popular than the front bar. Like the front bar would be like halfway empty, and then everybody would be lined up to get into the
I actually
hideout.
saw somewhere that like it was either whatever, like one of these like local publications that they were listening to their favorite bars in San Francisco, and the Hideout made it. And I was like, the Hideout is like, they're like, yeah, 16th in Valencia. And I was like, I've never heard of that fucking place.
Right.
And then I'm like, oh, it's the back of Dalva.
Right. Which seems unfair. Like if businesses are just able to willy-nilly, like call the back like the toilet a different bar or something like that. Like
I mean, like how is
like,
that?
my favorite bar in the city. It's the women's room at
like
Casanova.
Well, you got to know someone to get in there because it's like it doesn't have a sign out front. Yeah, the sign says Dalva out front. It's in the back of Dalva. That's one of the things I hate about like these like new bars like Bourbon and Branch. Or it's like we're not going to let you in if you don't know the password,
which is readily available.
Which everybody knows. So like it's like one of these like dumb rides that you take where it's
exactly.
like, oh my God, we have the inside scoop.
It's like you can't get into the place without like being a part of the cast of Tony and Tina's wedding or something. Okay? It's like
exactly.
You got to remember your lines to get in. It's like fuck you, just give me a drink.
Open up, you idiot. That's the password.
Password is you should have stayed in trade school.
All right, you want to take a break?
Let's take a break, and we have a special guest today.
We have a special guest.
Yet another special guest.
Every week we're going to have special guests. I don't know how special can they be if it happens every week.
Yeah, exactly. So we should probably not have a guest on for another year.
How about a guest?
I guess or
a guest.
Oh, how about a guest? Yeah.
Today we have a special guest, but like maybe when like Joe Gorman comes on, it'll just be a guest.
Yeah, I was gonna say but by saying we have a special guest, people pretty much already eliminated Kevin Montgomery, Joe Gorman.
Joe Morgan. I would really like to have Joe Morgan on here. I'd just be like, what was the Big Red Machine like?
I wish Joe Morgan had been on the show more than Joe Gorman.
Speaking of which,
I should say.
If you're a Red Sox fan like me, like, oh my God, today was like a goddamn fire sale. Today is like Thursday, and it was the last day of the trading deadline in the baseball.
Right.
And I think the fucking Red Sox like traded away Fenway Park at some point.
Well, I mean, like this has to be. I mean, it's somewhat unprecedented. Like that. I mean, two of Boston teams basically just blew up. Imploded within the last 2 years, like the Celtics and the Red Sox.
That's
like
true.
Pretty much like admitted to starting over, or it depends on people are saying that the Red Sox might have something up their sleeve as far as like bring Lester back for nothing.
Yeah, I don't really know like how you feel about this, but it's like like a lot of people are saying like the Red Sox are decimated now. But the thing is, how do you? They have Cespedes, but the thing is like they basically realized that they're in last place. They're not going to do it this year, so they just blew up the team.
Right.
So I don't know how people feel about that, but like I have to say that when I was like right after high school, when I was in college, like it was really painful watching the Celtics sort of struggle with Bird, McHale, and Parrish. Because they were just like they wouldn't let them go, and like those guys just couldn't get it done in their older years.
Well, luckily Reggie Lewis came along, and they could all retire, right?
Exactly.
Len Bias.
Len Bias and Reggie Lewis came by and took care of that whole thing.
They said,
really took care of it.
They said, "We'll take it from here."
I think like the Amazing Jonathan was like, "Hey, Reggie Lewis, like dial it back a little bit, okay? I know it's the '80s and all."
All right, now we should take a break. See, all the people that were like, "Oh, they're talking about the upcoming guest and going to break." They missed all that quality baseball talk.
Really?
Jerks.
Jerks door. All right, so this is SFBarkast, and we are at Dalva, not the Hideout. All right, and we are back at Dalva.
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 I don't know what kind of accent was that. Was that like a Jersey sportscaster or something? Like, we're down here at Dalva.
That sounds like drunk.
Barry Sobel.
Drunk Barry Sobel, possibly. Who's the drunk guy from Harry Carey? Dalva, yeah.
Dalva.
So we're at Dalva, and you know what? One of the things that I noticed, like I'd say I even though I live right around the corner, like there are some changes here. Like they don't have a jukebox anymore. They used to have a pretty good jukebox here, and they took it out. Like now, all they have in the front, in the back, is a ATM machine.
It's clever because if you didn't, if you were expecting to see a jukebox, you might see that out of the corner of your eye and be like, all right, and then like.
Well, no, out of the corner of my eye, I see like people going to the back and like operating some machine. I was like, oh, maybe this guy's gonna play some cool music, and I look like, oh no, he's like just the only cool music he's playing is like $40 out of the ATM machine.
Exactly. It's like, oh, this jukebox is paying off, everybody.
But yeah, it's kind of sad,
It seems like the age of being able to pick your own music.
Do you lament like the age of like the actual like laser disc or like the CD jukebox?
Well,
is gone.
It's funny. There's in a way I miss it because like, it was a part of the personality of the bar.
Yes,
it was like
absolutely.
Whoever picked the music, like is setting the tone for like the kind of times that people are going to have there, and like something like Lucky 13 or something like that, where it's like you've got all this like rockabilly, death metal or whatever like that, and like that just
that's the tone of the bar.
If dumb kids were allowed to come in there and play One Direction, it would fuck up the whole atmosphere.
Yeah, exactly. Like every once in a while you think like, oh, now they have an internet jukebox so you can play anything you want, but then you think like, oh no shit. Oh, holy shit.
Like, oh, no, it's going to be as bad as the internet.
People can play anything they want.
Right. It's like podcasting. I mean, like people can record and post whatever the fuck they want, and it's awful.
But I do lament that because like I was at the phone booth the other day and I was at the 500 Club, and both those places take much pride in the CDs that they have on their jukebox.
Right.
And like so they're basically saying, here's a bunch of like CDs that we like. What can you do with that?
Do you think that like the youth culture or like tech people, like do you think that they think that's sort of an antiquated notion, or like they're like, oh, that place is for dads that like to select music for you or something like
those people, that's for dads, people who like old bands like The Cure,
Smashing Pumpkins. Like, yeah. Although in the case of the Smashing Pumpkins, I might be on board with the kids if they were like Billy Corgan. What a creep.
I would say the first two albums are awesome, and then anything else you say, I will 100% agree with you.
Once they kicked the drummer on Smack out of the band, it was pretty much all downhill from there.
Didn't they have like someone like have a heroin overdose on the band? Like I remember seeing an interview with Billy Corgan where he's like, "Oh my God, like somebody overdosed in our band. We're like a rock and roll cliche."
The guys from Alice in Chains are like, yeah, tell us about it.
Are we going to be like those old guys in the back of like the dive bar going like, hey, nobody in One Direction ever overdosed on heroin?
You don't see Ariana Grande fucking choking on her own vomit.
That's what I was thinking like when I was like walking around the other day and I was walking past a bar. I actually did not go in, but I heard like Adele blasting out of this bar. And I was like, you know what? I think I kind of hate Adele.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to have that strong of a British voice, the least you can do is overdose once in a while.
Exactly. Least you can do is hang out with Pete Doherty until you're dead.
Right, exactly. Like, what happened? Like, do you not remember like the early 2000s? It's like Pete Doherty, Amy Winehouse.
Like Pete Doherty did kill Amy Winehouse, right?
There's a rumor
about
that.
Oh well.
But I don't know.
And then he like went and killed Heath Ledger, and then Nicole Brown Simpson.
I mean, like, you know what? Those were like the day. Maybe I'm like exaggerating here, but those are the days of like real like celebrity beef. Like the big like news this week was that Orlando Bloom and Justin Bieber.
Bieber. You're right.
Like got into like a little spat. And one of them took a swing at the other one and didn't even connect.
Well, I heard actually Stephen Colbert had a great tweet about it where he said that Orlando Bloom got to be in a Lord of the Rings movie. He's married to Miranda Kerr.
They split up. That's the reason why they're
okay. So like he got to enjoy Miranda Kerr's company for quite a while.
One time he enjoyed it like 3 times a night.
And then he got to throw a punch at Justin Bieber. And he said, like, by my calculations, he's only got 2 fingers left on his monkey paw.
I mean, that's funny.
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't even want to spend too much time on this, but like, should we like mention that like Justin Bieber has like trying to rebrand himself as a bad boy?
It's hilarious.
We're just like,
I mean,
yeah,
it would be hilarious if it wasn't.
I'm getting
totally
DUIs.
going to end tragically, but like
I'm getting DUIs. I'm hanging out with Floyd Merriweather.
I think that much in the same way that Sharknado was the #1 trending topic of the day yesterday, people will be patting themselves on the back for being able to predict that Justin Bieber would like kill himself one day or something.
How much credence should we give this whole Sharknado phenomenon?
Oh God, none
because
whatsoever.
I mean, like, there honestly is a side of me that says this is like the worst part of like social media.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
In that, like, but like, when people come back at you, they're like, wait a minute, look, listen, it's just like a stupid movie that's for fun. And you're like, yeah, but everybody's wasting all this time on it.
Exactly.
You know, where it's like, yes, I think it would be fucking hilarious if like somebody made a movie about a tornado shark, but then like it was like small, it was like a cult film, and it was done by Trauma.
Right. Well, there's a reason that you can't tell people, hey, in a couple of years we're gonna make this dumb thing, and it's gonna be really dumb. It's gonna be really bad, and like everybody get online and talk about how bad it is once it comes out, and then you release it, and then those people do exactly that. Now, like, there's a reason that shouldn't happen, and that's because now anybody, you know, if they've got like $1 million to spend on advertising, they can say, hey, I'm gonna make a bad thing. Here's the bad thing. Now go nuts. So where, you know, like, you have to have it either has to be accidental and terrible,
feel like
or it has to be, you know, good. You can't have this like purposely bad art.
I'm not saying that they shouldn't be allowed to do this, but I feel like the incentive or like the actual their goal to make like a shitty movie should not be celebrated as much. You know, like, I get it, it's a fucking crazy joke, but like, you know, we grew up with the Toxic Avenger.
Well, no, you know what? The first one was a joke.
But
like now, and now, you know, it's basically, it would be like making Snakes on a Plane 2.
Yeah, but like
it's
now,
like, well, okay, like, you know, yeah, the first one was sort of this weird accident that everybody like went nuts about, and now you're just gonna do the exact same thing and hope that everybody is too dumb to like not like, you know, retweet it to everybody, which they all did, of course.
I was just saying like the you know, like the whatever, like, I guess this is like the natural progression of things, but like the second one, even if the first one was like this small kind of like stupid, like, oh my god, it was incredible that it got any coverage whatsoever. Right. The second one, now they have like Matt Lauer and Al Roker and like Michael Strahan,
which has its whole, you know, opens up a whole nother like bag of like, you know, worms as far as like credibility for news people and stuff like that.
All I'm saying, like, at some point we're going to get so sick of like ironically making shitty films that it's going to be cool to make a good movie again.
Oh my god, no. Well, I think that like you'll have to like sort of Trojan horse it in. Like, a director will have to be good enough to make a decent film, claim it's a terrible film, get everybody involved in making fun of it, and then have all of them go see it and realize it's a great film. I think that'll be the next big like artistic achievement.
That's like the Showgirls model, where it's like, you know, everybody knows it's going to be stupid, and then people go and see it, and they have a lot of fun because it's bad. And then there's a small minority of people who are like, no, wait. Not only is
on their deathbed, they're like, oh my god, Showgirls was great.
No, not only is it not bad, it's one of the greatest masterpieces of all time. And then you just like scare the shit out of people who are like, whoa, wait, did I miss that?
It's like, you only want that to happen because we saw it opening day at a matinee. So you could be like if Showgirls is revered as like one of the like top 5 moves above Citizen Kane, you'll be like, I was in an empty goddamn theater in like fucking Sunset or in Richmond in California.
One of my other like great achievements is I saw Cabin Boy opening day to an empty theater.
That's impressive. Like, I don't think I'm pretty sure I didn't see that.
Might have even been the first show. I noticed that like on today, which is Thursday, you put in a photo on Facebook of all like a bunch of like old like ticket stubs.
Oh, yeah. TB ticket stubs.
I noticed you didn't put just like Showgirls ticket stub from like 1990.
That was sort of random. I was just like I was like, I got to do something with all this shit lying around. I'll just scan everything. I think I bought a scanner the week before, so I was just like, anything I had that was in print, through scanning.
You're sick of scanning your face.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
and other bodily parts.
There's only so many asshole pictures you need on your computer.
All right, let's take a break because we're ramping up for our very special guest. If we do another segment, he's going to be like a not so special guest.
That's right. We're like, this is going to be like a 10-hour-long telethon to raise money to get a hold of our guest.
All right, this is SFBarkast, and we are at Dalva. All right, and we are back at Dalva.
Dalva.
Andrew, are you ready for our special guest?
I'm ready.
Please welcome to SFBarkast the Bentley of SF comedians, Kasim Bentley.
Is this where you cue in the fake sound effects? Like, ah!
Right. We're going to have some, like, Jamaican horns.
Or, like, air stabs. Because, you know, black people might listen to this, so he needs some air stabs and, like, grand, like, dun, 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 dun. Like, we need all that stuff. So,
We can replay, like, Kevin Monroe did, like, a full, like, sort of like a Jamaican outro like that, too. They had a couple sound effects, and he went on like a good 5 minutes like of nonsense, like Jamaican shouting or whatever.
I don't know.
Even though he's from Trinidad, he's not from Jamaica.
It's all coconuts and people on rafts. You know, it doesn't matter. It's just like, it doesn't matter. I don't know why he does that. At the beginning of his set, I've asked him,
Monroe?
to stop with the chant, and it's like, look, dude, no one cares about that. It's like, it doesn't make the set better. It confuses people. It's not like, wow, we're going to get a real cultural experience right now, and no one knows that he's like, I don't know, man. I don't get. It's like if you like, it's like if Steve Lee had put on like a gong and like one of those straw hats, and he's like, I don't get like I don't get like this whole idea that.
Well, see, like that's the thing about like Kevin is he's from Jamaica. He's from Trinidad. But he's from the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Right.
But like when you listen to him, you don't think like this guy's from the Caribbean. You think this guy is like some upper crust like Nigerian prince.
Nah, if you're black, you know he's from like Africa or Jamaica because they don't make his kind in America.
I'm just saying that like like a lot like you're listening to him, his voice. He sounds like you don't know what nationality he is. I mean, there's a lot of our listeners that think that I'm black.
You know what? You do have like an octoroon like kind of thing going on. Because there's something very like your great grandma might have been raped or something.
That would explain.
Because like you have ethnic white guy face.
Ethnic white guy face?
Yeah, because you have a good head of hair. You like it's thick. You have big cheeks. You have a black guy's forehead, just very.
A black guy's forehead?
Very, like kind of.
I love this. I'm learning so much. Like, I had a neighbor once who said, he's like, hey, what is your, a black neighbor of mine. He was like, hey, what's your ethnicity? And I was like, I'm Irish. And he goes, oh, you're black Irish.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's great. I'm happy to be part of the black Irish.
You have a very like light-skinned guy, black guy, or no, black. You have a very black mulatto facial type.
Is it true that your dad disowned you later that day?
Well, Kasim, if you could watch me like shoot basketball, you'd know that's not true. None of that's true.
You don't know how to shoot hoops?
I do shoot.
What do you know how to do, man? I've known you for years.
I shoot hoops all the time. I love it.
Oh, you can? See this.
I saw him get a terrible injury playing basketball actually once, like ankle sideways on somebody else's foot.
Yeah, really bad injury. No, I mean, like this is a long time ago. Kasim.
What year?
I had to be like 20 years old because I knew I was like hitting the bars pretty hard.
It's like 91, 92 maybe.
Yes.
Like,
so I was like probably like 22 years old.
Yeah.
So speaking of which, Kasim, I want to thank you for coming on the show. But also, like, I want to say that like you're our second person to be on the show who doesn't drink.
Who was the first one?
Matt Lee.
Oh yeah, but he was in a program, so I count for real.
Wait, so what does that mean?
Hey man, he's got the chip. He's trying to keep it all focused and controlled. I'm real since birth. I don't drink at all. So I'm the real first guest that doesn't drink. So he was like sweating, like like a brother in court. You know what I mean? Like sitting there, like he was seeing that sweaty beard.
You never picked it up at all.
Church wine. Like I went on a date once with this one woman.
Did you find yourself going to church like 4 or 5 times a day? Or?
I was right. You know what's weird? They would force it on me because I didn't really want to drink the
At
wine.
church?
Wow.
Dude, I went to like the craziest Lutheran church ever. It was a Puerto Rican guy that looked black but didn't say stay, but he would be against you if you say look like. I had this black wife who didn't like me because when I had raised money to go to Cuba, and I gave this really rousing speech a while ago, black people all crying, and she gave some PowerPoint why they sent her to some women's missionary like colony for like 3 months, and they gave her like $110, and then she gets like fucked with her whole family. And I went there, and so the husband, he knew I didn't really want to drink the fucking wine. I wanted the bread because I was fat, and so he would do that, and he would make me drink the wine. I never got it because I would get tired.
When you drank?
Yeah, man.
So
I'm like 11, dog. Like, what are you trying to do to me, man?
Covering your mouth until you swallow the blood of Christ. Do it.
I want to be like I always thought was he putting stuff in the wine because no one else would get tired until the kids would come around. You know what I mean?
So that sounds like a Catholic thing.
Yeah, man. I think because Pastor Rich, if you're listening to this, I know what you're trying to do.
I'm pretty
you're
sure.
Trying to put a D in my B.
Stop
I know.
eating the blood of Christ.
I'm pretty sure Pastor Rich listens to our podcast.
I need to get his first name because there's a lot of brothers named Pastor Rich. You know, like it's just like. It was like sleepers. You know what I mean? He was trying to take me in the basement, dog.
So here's another thing. Kasim, you are actually a San Francisco native.
Yeah, I'm from
wow.
here.
So
Born and
you're
raised.
one of the very few. So
Yeah.
how do you feel about like what's happened to San Francisco?
You know what? I used to care. You know, but I don't give a fuck anymore, man. You can't stop it. I've really got to a point where there's like maybe 8 of us left. And we all meet every Thursday, you know what I mean? And we just go over good times, man. But all jokes aside, it does make me a little angry because, you know, people don't understand about, I think people have a surface level knowledge of how gentrification works and the effects it has.
Oh yeah,
on-
like the black community in San Francisco is virtually
It's not even
evaporating.
it's about black, Latino, Asian, poor, white, if you're in Excelsior. You know what I mean? Like, it's all this systematic plan just for have and have-nots. And so what happens is people, you know, and here's the thing about it. There was an article that came out about a year or two ago that kind of said about, like, it was like a systematic citywide plan to get these people out of San Francisco, move them to the East Bay, and then the plan was after the economy was, like, shifted to move them to Antioch, Sacramento,
Oh my God.
and all out. It's like they want to put black people on the moon, you know what I mean? It's like they would try it, dog. I'll be in a spacesuit in the
Someone's like,
project.
there's no more room in Idaho.
Everybody's moving to Placerville.
But people don't talk about it because they always want to, you know, race and crime sells headlines, but they don't want to talk about poor whites because poor whites feel it just as much as people of color. When I go up to the,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Well, that's like one of the things that people talk about, like politically, about like, you know, like in like red state America, people are just like, oh, you know, Obama's just giving away handouts to, like, you know, to poor people, and a lot of people who are like saying that are like alluding that it's poor black people.
Yeah.
But like the majority of people who get like general assistance are like, you know, white people across America.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like
Well, I just think like the silliest part about you know, when a place becomes over gentrified and just, you know, is that the people that are moving in are assisting in the destruction of the reason they moved there. So they're taking something that was vibrant and interesting and cultural and sucking that out of it, you know, and you know, and sort of, you know, making it bland and you know, making it like a strip mall or something like that. Essentially,
I feel like Oakland is one of the last like you know tassels of like great diversity, and like it's still like, you know, it's still there. Oakland and also Chinatown in San Francisco.
Oh, yeah.
Chinatown's like, man, like you could not, like, if you try to like gentrify Chinatown, guess what? That's not going to work.
No, it'd be like Braveheart. They're like Chinese people and rats coming over the hills, all with swords and garbage can lids.
find out that
fighting
there's a
to
lot
death.
more tunnels than we knew about, like in Chinatown.
So you gotta feel like there's so many like neighborhoods that have just been like steamrolled over by gentrification that like, but Chinatown's still there, and part of it is that like I guess it's like a tourist attraction, but also part of it is that like the real people who run that neighborhood are like, yeah, this isn't
Shout out Shrimp Boy.
this isn't happening.
Yeah.
You know, like they're very. It's like a strong union in like New York or Philly or something.
But
They're like,
people
this
don't
isn't
like
happening.
talking about in Chinatown. One of the things that keeps them so secure is that they have their own economic system. Some of it being criminal with all the heroin trades, the drugs, triads, all that stuff. You have some real Chinese, honest Chinese people who have multi-generations of family, all types. They'll tell you, Chinatown, if you go in these little side streets, underground, there's all these like underground communities that even the police can't go into. You know what I mean?
Really? Wow.
Because I'm telling you, I remember I was in high school, right? And for some reason in high school, this was like a time when I was in the 90s, when Asian people just stopped giving up and want to be Asian. It was like this weird time. And they were like kind of like, there was all these high school race wars, right? So there was like this huge
High school race wars?
Oh man, you're not from here. There was a huge fight that happened at Washington High School where these brothers, they jumped on some Asian guys, took his like CD player, and then they didn't know what they were fucking with. So he gets his little lower CRXB whatever card, smashes off, comes back with like a bunch of dudes. Their friend is like, oh, I'm gonna get my friends. So they come with like 13 guys, right, against like 20 Asian guys. Little do they know, over the hill, you just saw these Honda CRXs, and we're all there, and it's like, you see like dust, like, like, it was every Chan, Lao, Ing, in existence, grandparents, fucking babies, all you just saw was, it was a wave, it was like a wave of pink bags and Chinese bags, and they fucked those brothers up. It was like weird, it was like, dude, it was like remember when you saw 300 and you just saw like this how they were getting killed and all the arrows and all coming out of them, and you saw the leader like you're like, oh, I'm gonna die, and dude, that's what started. And after that there's all these wars. But here's what I'm saying with that is that like I became really invested in seeing what was happening with Asian communities. I never really thought about it. I just knew about Filipinos and Chinese kids getting beat up on the bus. You know what I mean? So I'd go. So I went deep. I had a friend who took me in the cut. Dude, you don't understand. Asian people, they do the best job of putting the smoke screen of like, oh, we're just really meek and mild. Now, a lot of them aren't. But the gangsters, man, they understand economic empowerment. So all like that fortune cookie factory y'all like, and y'all like, oh, it's like the lady comes, oh, saw hello, you want a cookie? You go behind another door, there's heroin cooking, you know what I mean? People making shirts and fake bags, you know what I mean? Grandma's like an 87, she's like running a fucking like sewing machine while some guy with a dragon on his whole neck is like, you keep walking, you know what I mean? Like, dude, Chinatown is ill, dude. And I remember that one time I was in Chinatown late night. It was one of those times where I shouldn't have been out when I was with my friends. We just saw these Chinese dudes on motorbikes. You know what I mean? It was like some really wild shit. And they were just like, and they were like hitting like corners on. And my friend told me, I was like, what is they? He said, dude, those are triads. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And I was like, they say, you don't want to fuck with it. And one looked me in the eye and just let me that look like he snarled, and I was so scared.
So the Triad is a Chinese gang, or like
It's a Chinese gang, but it's a multi-level, huge crime organization, and you'll see it because
It's like Amway, but for like Chinese.
it's like the Masons for Chinese people. It's like 33 levels. You know what I mean? And you can't do it, but you understand it. Chinese people do that because I'm understanding that, we always want to understand that we stereotype them as just docile, nice, to a fault, intelligent, but their underbelly, man, it's
not
so,
when that martial arts comes out.
Dude, they don't even give a fuck about martial arts. You talk to regular Asian people, I don't give a fuck about karate. They don't give a fuck. It's the nerds, they're all like stars and all that shit.
Yeah.
My boy said, man, in real life, that shit does not really work. A 110-pound guy versus a 180-pound black guy, it don't matter how many roundhouses. He puts you in a chokehold, it's out. You're going from year of the dragon to year of the horse. You're fucking asleep till then, dog. It don't matter. I I wish, dude, Asians. That's why those movies like Jack Nicholson. What was it? Year of the Dragon, or what was it? No, Chinatown.
Oh yeah.
Gets all those movies, dude. It's like people aren't talking, or even like Sucker Free City. They talked about those things. People in Chinatown, any city you go to, it might seem nice, but behind another door, there is crime happening.
Yeah, now that you brought up, like, after everything you said about Chinatown, like, now I'm thinking of, like, the Roman Polanski Chinatown movie. It was, like, pretty tame.
Yeah.
You're just like, none of that shit was happening with, like, Jack Nicholson and Roman Polanski and, like, Faye Dunaway.
Because, like, they always have those, like, anti-Chinese defamation league. Like, they jump, I remember when Sarah Silverman had said something on Politically Incorrect. The minute she said that, the next day she got served with just like, you need to apologize to the Chinese community.
Well, actually, you know what? I don't know if this is like the exact event that you're talking about, but I remember like Sarah Silverman was like going on, I believe, like the Conan O'Brien show, and she's like a edgy, like young, at the time she's an edgy young comic.
Yeah.
And at the time, she like had in her act, she used the N-word, right?
Yeah.
And so she said to like the producers, "Look, I know I can't use this, and I don't want to do that. But so just like tell me like what we can do." So they gave her like a list of words she could say instead of the N-word.
Yeah.
But she said, "Okay, also in my act, I used the word chink." And like I guess like the producer just said, "Well, just say chink." And she was like, "What? Really?" So I don't know if that's the actual like event that you're talking about, but like people got like really mad about that. But she said it was because they gave her the A-OK to say that.
Yeah. I mean, she's been in trouble. She did the PP in my Coke joke. She had a variation of it. It's like people aren't afraid of Asians. And I think that makes very political, like I know very politically minded Asian people, it makes them so mad that how we regard them, that they fight harder to let it know. Like, don't think just because the guy at your dry cleaner is a pussy, that I'm not going to come out swinging on you intellectually about whatever you believe our people to be.
Well, I believe that's what Sarah said, where she was like, what she took away from that whole event was that, like, people, the suppression of certain words are directly related to whether people think that they'll get beat up for it.
Yeah, like, she really learned that Wu-Tang ain't in the fuck with.
Right, exactly. It's like, yeah, like if you want to do like a handicap joke about like Stephen Hawking, they're like, yeah, go at it. Like he's not. What's he gonna do?
Take the Amish for example. You can fuck with them all day.
Hey, you guys want to take a break?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, this is SFBarkast. We'll be back with Kasim Bentley.
I got hoes. Johnny
All right, and we are back at Dalva.
The Dalva
with Kasim Bentley.
16th and Albion between Albion and Valencia. Correct.
Kasim, so like I like when we have like a guest on, I like to ask them a little bit about your bio. And I know you're already from like San Francisco, but like I know you're a comedian, so I want to know like between being from San Francisco and being a comedian, where did it all go wrong?
You know what? Where did it all go wrong?
Well, we only have comedians on our show.
Really? You don't have like the two old like ladies that are twins and
we actually
Tom Amiano or some shit like.
You know what? We have had like some people like in like dive bars come over and be like, "Hey, can I be on your show?" And we're like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." Most of the time, we're like, "No."
Yeah, but if they're like chicks, you'll say yeah, right?
All right. So how about this, Kasim?
All right.
Since I've been in San Francisco for 22 years now.
All right.
And I still feel like I'm not like welcome as like a native. So as a native, what do I have to do to become like all in? I already love the Niners, and I like the A's, not the Giants.
You like the A's?
I like the A's. Yeah.
You said A's or AIDS?
I like the A's, and I do
might
not like
A's.
A's.
That's really San Francisco. You like A's?
I'm the one guy who's for the AIDS epidemic.
I'm for AIDS. I'm for the pro-AIDS walk.
That's why we've never had Tommy Amiano on the show. It's like
to be a real San Franciscan, at this point, I think what you really have to do is that you need to complain more about the rent that you have. You have that good old time San Francisco rent. Like, you know what I mean? You haven't moved out. So number one, you can't move out of the apartment you got now because you probably
I'm married to my apartment.
Huh?
I'm married to my apartment.
That's sad. That fact that like you gotta grow up, but you should think you got. But to be a real San Franciscan is kind of sad because what happens is, well, I know you've been here 20 years, so you've been here since like 90s.
Yeah, 93.
Okay, so number one, you can't leave your apartment because because you live in a Mission, right?
Yeah,
You gotta stay in the Mission. 'Cause this is what really San Francisco is. The people is staying in this horse shit neighborhood, this gentrified sombrero.
But see, you know, like when I first moved to this neighborhood, people were like, "That's the bad neighborhood," and now look at
yeah, it was.
Yeah,
because Cap Street, knife-wielding Sin City prostitutes running around here.
No, I've seen Sin City. Those prostitutes are attractive.
Exactly, yeah.
Cap Street prostitutes.
Yo, but you know what? I remember one time I got asked by a prostitute. I used to work in this program, Upward Bound at USF, so I had to go visit these shitty-ass kids, right? And in their high school, and try to instill the knowledge into them so they could go to college, you know what I mean? And when I was there, I was in near John O'Connell, and this girl, this really pretty, light-skinned black chick, thin, but huge titties, and like, kind of like Jada Pinkett Smith meets Lisa Bonet. Her name was Star, and she was talking to me, and she knew all this stuff. We were talking for like a half hour. I was truly like, man.
She was a lady of the night?
She was a lady of the midday. You know what I mean? And so she was there. She was talking to me. We had a good time. Her nipples were all hard. I'm a really good conversationalist. So she was there, and she was telling me all these personal stories. I was like, all right, it's going down. So do you want to hang out? And she's like, yeah, you got $200. I'm like 9/11 in my brain, like, boom. Like, what? She's like, and she said it like, I'm a hoe. Like, didn't you get this? I wouldn't talk to your ugly ass. Like, and it gives was like, hey, bitch, I'm a counselor. I just gave up on 2 kids this afternoon. It's like I had this amazing conversation.
Like,
and I just made me hate the Mission.
Well, how many ladies of the mid-afternoon spend that much time like closing a deal? Like they're not selling real estate. Like it seems like a sort of like, hey, you want it? Yes, no kind of deal, rather than like I gotta like grease the wheels.
Hey, I'm gonna stand up for this lady of the afternoon and say like, Kasim, like she's probably giving you the message that like, hey, I am a lady of the afternoon.
So I have more time.
So maybe it's your fault that you're like, oh, hey, like I should have clued in earlier.
I should have known because like there was this old Cadillac just kept circling the block. It circled like 9 times, and the guy just looking out the window, like, like, come on, bitch, it's taking forever, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, time's wasted. You know what I mean? Like, and it really did, dude. It made me hate the Mission. But wait, back to you. You gotta stay in the Mission, and you gotta hold on to your Mission pride. You gotta get a Mission upper playground sweatshirt, preferably a zip hoodie, because that's the choice of hipsters and metropolitan white guys that don't want to seem like that they're old. So you gotta do that. You gotta get a burrito at least. You gotta give burrito advice.
At where?
You gotta give burrito advice to like people who like when they're like, you have to be a burrito sage. Like, oh, you gotta go here. Oh, I don't like that. They have better salsa. All that dumb shit.
Well, you know what's funny about like the burrito thing that you're talking about is that like Chris Garcia, who like lives in LA now,
Yeah.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show. He's like up here now, and he told me like, yeah, like I can't get a good burrito in LA.
And with all those Mexicans?
He said that like the best burritos are in San Francisco and specifically in the Mission. So, maybe like
You got that going for you.
I don't like burritos anyway. Cause burritos.
So you don't drink, you don't like burritos.
I don't like, cause you know what?
You sure you're not from Jersey?
No, here's
No,
the thing about burritos.
Utah would be better.
Burritos.
So wait, so what neighborhood are you from actually, and where do you live now?
I'm from Lakeview.
Okay.
Also known as OMI, Oceanside, Merced, Ingleside. I'm from 408 Shield Street. Because I know there'll be some people from Lakeview listening. Lakeview was one of it's like there's always this model saying there's nothing to do in Lakeview. Because Lakeview is kind of like where everything fun drops off. Because like when you go, you're leaving West Portal, you're going past Stonestown State. After you get past State, there's nothing but gray clouds.
So the lake that the view is of is Lake Merced.
Yeah.
Yes? Okay.
No, yeah, we'll go with that. You know what I mean? But it was one of those neighborhoods, a black neighborhood, which is like you kind of like grew up in a house, but maybe your grandparents, because your mama is still in rehab or some shit, or you know. But you would grow, or no, it was two parts. I lived right in the middle of you, so on one side, on the Randolph side, there'd be all the projects, everyone closer projects, all the crazy shit. On this side was the Huxtable side, and where I was just like, sweaters and weird multiracial, like different colored kids and shit, you know what I mean? Real Tyler Perry shit. So it was that, and it was a trip. Like, it was really a trip. It felt like being Jazzy Jeff going to the Fresh Prince's house every day and getting kicked out and have to go back.
I also
to,
I love the Huxtable reference because, like, I feel like that, like, makes all, like, people know immediately where you're talking about. The Huxtable side.
And my family
Have you ever worked with Bill Cosby?
Yes, I have worked with Bill Cosby. I opened for him. No, I didn't.
No, really? I don't know, man. Like, you guys...
What? I see you at least 3 times a week. There's no way. Look at the rooms I do. There's no way I'm working with Bill Cosby.
Who's the best comic that you've worked with that you were kind of starstruck about? Don't say me.
You know what? There was a time in Annie's, man, that you did a 5 minutes that couldn't be touched, man. Like, you were online...
Of course, we mean besides Barry Sobel.
You know what? What is with this community? Everyone has this outs for Barry Sobel. One day it's going to be like Larry Clark Bully or like Harmony Korine Bully. Everyone's going to act like his friend, take him to the beach and murder him. And everyone's going to have to make a blood pact. And everyone's going to sell each other out so they can write a book. I fuck with Barry. I know you're going to listen to this. I fuck with you heavy. You know that. Because, growing up, he was on 227.
Yo.
He was your roommate.
Let me tell you something. I love Barry Sobel as well growing up until he started crashing on my fucking couch.
Wasn't he your roommate?
He was my roommate, yeah.
He was. So something weird happened. Like what? Like you caught him jerking off to like Small Wonder or something? Like what are you doing?
I'm not going to say yes and I'm not going to say no. All right.
Oh, wait. Somebody did tell me something where...
All right, turn the recorder off.
Wait a minute. That's not me. I got this from, I forget the comic, but I remember a comic had said something about he was like looking at porn or like some questionable porn. And, mind you, there's like 8 million weird asterisk kind of Barry Sobel
I just want to say that never happened at my place. Like, none of that
happened at my place. It was just good Christian fun in your guys' house. It was like... Like, no, Barry, he's the homie, but that's like, I never want to be in this position where people just have these crazy, he's like white comedy's DMX. You know what I mean? He's just running around, weirding out, wilding.
My take about Barry, and I know, like, I'm not friends with Barry anymore, and if he's listening to this, like, I just want to let him know that I still like, I have no problem with him.
Look at the PR job you're doing.
I still feel like he's like a friend.
The views expressed by Jeff Cleary.
But what I will say is I feel like at some point when I was like 8 or 10 years old, I was staying up late and watching like HBO comedy.
Yeah.
And like an evil genie showed up and said, I'll grant you one wish. And I like looked at the TV and I saw Barry Sobel like on like HBO late night comedy. And I said, hey, you know what? I want to be friends with that guy. And because he's a genie, he made it happen. And because he's an evil genie, I got 55-year-old Barry Sobel sleeping on my couch.
Just think, if the genie had showed up 5 minutes earlier, you'd be hanging out with Paul Reiser right now.
I also would have accepted Elaine Boozler. You mean I could be friends with Richard Jeni?
I mean, one thing I'll say is this: is that Barry, if you take enough time to talk to him about what he's experienced and what he knows about the business, and he'll throw you opportunities. Like, he texted me like a month ago on a Friday to come down Saturday to do a podcast, like a kind of a big podcast. Mark Norman was going to be on it.
Was it the Stanhope one?
Huh?
Stanhope?
No. This was like a legit podcast. I forget the name of it, but there were like people, and he wanted me to come down. He's always looked out for me, and not because I don't defend him because of what he's trying to give me. It's just that, look, as comics, we're all stunted by some sort of whether it be trauma or what, or some kind of a event or a maturation, is like there's always something kind of effective.
I agree. Yeah.
And his social skills, they're okay. It could be better, but one thing about it is he's been, I think, somewhat authentic about people, and people look at people who were at the top of the mountain, they fall, and we always want to knock them down. But when you talk to him, he'll give you so much advice about like how to navigate through the business. You know what I mean?
I'll tell you what, Kasim. When we were like starting this podcast, I was like, maybe we should talk about some like current events, like maybe like what the conflict that's going on between Israel and Palestine. But I tell you what, if you were to bring me and Barry Sobel together again and we broker a peace deal, it'll be better than Israel and Palestine.
And we'll be right back.
It would end all the isms.
And we'll be right back.
Dude.
All right, you want to take a break?
Yeah.
All right.
How long was that? We were talking like 3 minutes or something?
No. We'll take a break and then we'll come back and
the
like
breaks?
we'll
come back and we'll talk about
wind
them
down, right?
Are
Like
the breaks because for momentum or something? Like, you guys don't like having momentum?
Hey, we gotta pay the bills. We got
What
something.
bills?
We gotta talk about like some of our
What products? Are you guys like a shading system or something? Or?
Bonobos.
You guys really?
dirty magazines.
Very Sobel.
Presented by Jugs.
All right, this is SFBarkast. We'll be right back.
Bickering.
All right, we are back at Dalva. Kasim, we've talked a lot about a lot of things. What do you think about this bar? And I know, we'll keep this in perspective that, like, you don't drink.
No, I don't drink, but like this is a really good ginger ale, man. Like, I'm telling you, dude. I drink a lot of these shitty ginger ales, and it's like it was handmade, artisanal ginger ale. You know what I mean? Like an Asian guy in the back was like,
It doesn't have like chunks of ginger in or anything in it, does it?
It's that, or they stirred it with ginger, and there might be some opium in this. I don't know, dog. This is like crazy. It's a very interesting
Is this
bar.
the kind of bar that you would go to if you did drink?
No, this would be a kind of bar if I was like a systems analyst working in Embarcadero, and I met some Hoppa on OKC, and I read like 3 think pieces to get ready, and I would come down here and I would like get ready and I'd like rub one out, you know what I mean? And like and then
that's what the hideout is for, back in the back,
And I'd get here early to ask, can I have the like the best place, here? And I would it's great. It's a great way to for me being black. It's a really good place to study white people. And
honestly, like I wasn't gonna bring that up, but I'm like looking across the bar like right now. Oh, you know what? Kasim, I was gonna say that like you're the only black man here, but I found another one.
Yeah, but there's a lot of guys here wearing like vintage Jordans and like Supreme shirts. So there's like 3 black people here.
The black community is represented.
Yeah, there's and there's a lot of white guys here who have SNAP and on welfare because they're artists. So they're like half black in their mind.
Like I was a little concerned, like right before you showed up, Jeff looked around the whole place and said like, everyone here is white. And then I looked up on the screen behind us here, and like now they're showing like Attack of the Killer Tomatoes or something like that. Before that, they were showing some like ironic blacksploitation movie or something like that. And
that's
so,
a very mission.
I thought like, because he's gonna walk in, he's gonna be like, oh, wrong place, or like,
no, this is. I'm so used to being in places that I'm studying if this is racist or not. That like I just like let it go, and I just like, cause the thing about it is you got to entertain the ugly people that come here that are not getting laid. And it's a different level of ugly people here. Like it's bordering on almost average. So they're just waiting for their ugly, shitty friends so they can all go to the Roxy and watch some independent foreign movie, and then they can go tweet about it, and feel better. So it's a very cool place because this is like San Francisco has a lot of things that New York has, but it doesn't have that panache New York has. Like this is like a very private, small place. If this was New York, you'd be like, oh, I saw Orlando Bloom here. He was having drinks with Eva Mendes.
That's the thing.
It's like here you would have to like read like Wired magazine, like cover to cover, and like you'd probably be like, hey, that's the guy that like designed the Galaxy phone.
Yeah, but like nobody would buy a magazine if he said like, who was at Dalva last night? Employee number 1 at Pinterest.
You know what? You joke about that, but that would be a very actually realistic. If that was, if like San Francisco Magazine 7x7 really gets, because there's no real stars here, we might as well make the Pinterest head of like marketing a star, because you know what I mean? Because on his on his Tinder, he's popping, man.
It's the CFO of Zynga or something.
And he's like with some Malaysian model, or she used to model, but now there's no economy, so she works at CP Shades or something, like, you know what I mean? No.
Singapore ladyboy.
Can I just tell you that joke that I just told about like the number one employee at Pinterest? He lives above me.
Really?
He's like one of the guys that moved in right above me. So
Can
that's
you
what my
have
neighborhood.
him on here and ask him what is it like to work for a website that no one gives a shit about and understands? Like, if you're a woman on Pinterest, they've made millions and millions making like a dream board for ugly fat chicks, and men and for girly men that aren't gay, but they might want to think about it, because if you're on a Pinterest, vaginas aren't really on your board, you know what I mean? Like, 'cause I see guys, like, only guys that I know that use Pinterest are like, that I actually respect, are like fashion guys, like guys who are like maybe like what I wore today, and I mean, I can done it, but if you're putting cupcakes and like, I had the most amazing mac and cheese.
I feel like Pinterest like came out of like the fashion industry, because like, you know, when I was working at Gap, I would like walk by the design team, and they would always like have some like a pinup board where they're like, oh, here are some things that we think are image like positive.
Right, it's like an old lady cutting stuff out of magazines that you have to work for.
It's basically like a 22-year-old scrapbook.
Right.
Yeah. Dude, he lives above you?
What's that?
That seems odd that he lives in a Mission. If you're number one on Pinterest, I'm living in China Basin or like something that's really
you
wild.
think that you wouldn't want to like live next to me.
Yeah, well, I
think that would be a penalty for doing something wrong versus doing something right.
Dude, that's like, but I mean, you probably living on. I've seen your building. That's like, it's cool. Like, you know, I can see that. He's like, I don't know though. Where do you live?
I mean, to be fair, it's kind of a dump.
Where do you live? You live in the Tenderloin?
No, actually, I live in San Leandro. So like,
what are you doing out San Leandro?
Yeah.
What the fuck you living out there for?
I can afford a house out there.
What do you do? You like work at KNBR or something?
No,
like,
no,
All right, wait. I don't want to. We gotta wrap this up.
Because people understand he's wearing a Seattle Sonics Supersonic jersey. Is it vintage or is it like?
No, it's a Luke Rittenauer jersey that I found on eBay for like $15, and I was like, well, you know what? It's my size and it's an authentic jersey. Like I could hold out for Sean Kemp or Gary Payton jersey to come along for $10, but it'll never happen. So I might as well rock the.
Can I say, like, how much did you buy that for?
It's like $15, I think.
$15. Okay.
You know what?
So I gave him a Celtics jersey that a friend of mine who is a part owner of the Warriors, and like he sits like courtside. So I got to sit courtside for like a Celtics game because he knows I'm from Boston. So we watched it, and towards the end of the game, the Warriors are killing the Celtics. And they put in this like 7-foot Brazilian dude, and all Nick and I are doing are making fun of this guy because he doesn't like even understand like the
Barnado
game.
is his name,
but the thing is, like, he is like a 7-foot like guy who can jump through the fucking roof.
Yeah.
So next time I saw Nick, he like, here's a present. He bought me a game worn jersey by the guy that we were making fun of that the Celtics had already like cut. And of course, since it's like, it looks like a fucking dress on me because it's for a 7-footer, I gave it to Andrew.
Oh, how tall are you?
Well, about 6'7", 6'8".
Dude, man.
All right, let's wrap this up. Andrew, what do you think of this bar?
Oh, but you forgot to say how much he paid for it.
Oh, he paid
for basically a joke. I mean,
Yeah, okay, so
he's giving this to him like as a
I'm
gag.
sorry. He gave it to me as a gag, and you paid how much for your jersey?
$15.
$300 for a game-worn scrub jersey.
A Varnado game worn costs you $300 in today's world.
All right, what do you think of this bar, Andrew?
Oh, final analysis, Phil Joannou?
Phil Joannou.
I like this place a lot. Like, you know what? It's dark. It's a good place to sort of come and like I don't know, disappear and have a drink. Like it's It's not a good environment for like meeting people necessarily.
This is what I'll say. Like, I really love if you go out back, they have the hideout there, and like where people are like muddling drinks, and it is kind of like precious. But if you get your drink and then you go up in the back to the second floor,
right,
it's awesome. It's great. You can just like sit back there and just basically like talk to like whatever. It's like not like really loud like it is down here.
Cool.
So I didn't know about the other part. We're just down here with the commoners.
Yeah, exactly. We're down in the House of Commons down here.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Kasim, do you have anything to plug?
Yeah. I got a lot to plug right now.
All right.
I
got to take a nap. No,
I got
hanging out with Barry Sobel.
I'm on RooftopComedy.com's new album, Rooftop Tales. I'm the first track put on there.
Wow.
That just came out last week.
Nice. Available on iTunes?
It's it's on Spotify.
It's on Spotify. Okay.
But it could be it's on Spotify. It's on Spotify. So that's coming
Go to
up.
Rooftop Comedy and find out. Right?
Yeah, it's Rooftop Tales, and it's coming up on there. I will be. This is coming out a little later, but I will be at. I'll be in L. Oh, if you're in LA, I'll be in LA in the third weekend of August. I'll be doing a couple of shows down there. You can check my Facebook or CasimBentley.com for more information for all the dates and whatnot. And coming up pretty soon, I have my own podcast, web series coming out. We're still in development, we're still in talks. It's pretty major right now.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Does it have a name, or do we not know yet?
I can't tell you everything. I got my Jewish people on it right now.
So stay tuned for the Barry Sobel podcast featuring Kasim Bentley.
So everything you can get will be at CasimBentley.com and all our information. So I'll be good.
So I want to thank Kasim for being on the show. But I also, I totally forgot about this, but I want to thank Kasim for last, October. I got my hair cornrowed, and Kasim set me up with someone who could cornrow my hair.
Shout out to my homegirl, Tahira Love, 2 Sides of Love on Instagram. If you want to see sexy pictures of black women next to Bible quotes.
Not only did he set me up with someone who could cornrow my hair, her name was Love. So it is totally
she
legitimate.
Gave you some spring break James Franco.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going for.
That was some really
Did you ever
Are those on your Instagram?
Yeah, they are.
People
the first person I sent a photo of with my cornrows was to Kasim, and he reposted it on Facebook, and he wrote, "I need better white friends."
And it exploded. Man, I got more. The likes were coming out like a Mexican girl's emotions. You know what I mean? They were coming out. They were coming. It was crazy, man. Oh, man. So you need to post that again.
Oh, my God.
You should really repost that again. That'd be great.
I really want to get it again.
Now that you got your little new haircut.
It felt so good. Although I used the word a lot more.
I bet you were blocking it up. She told me you were really cool, though.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's an easy word to say when you got a grill in your mouth and you're like,
You know what they said when they left? They were like, yeah, I guess somebody came in and said, who was that? And the one dude was like, oh, yeah, I think that was Sean Connery's brother. Or some shit came in there. And he came
You know what? Sean Connery's brother? I'm going to take it. Yeah. I'll take it.
Sure. Sean Connery's brother probably gets laid on that.
I'm telling you, there's something about you that's very popular with black people. You look like you have a drop in you.
Is Sean Connery popular with black people?
You look like every black mulatto guy in NAACP. You have all you need is a little perm and a slick back, and you need to recede a little bit. You could be an Atlanta mayor in 6 years. Dog.
You got your marching orders.
So next week, if I have a pick in my hair, it'll be you'll be like, oh, I understand.
You need to get you a perm like the Brady dad before he died of AIDS. You know what I mean? You need to do it, dog. You need to have it on.
And on that note,
all right, are you ready to? Kasim Bentley, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. We're shaking hands. Racial solidarity. All right. And
I'm Jeff Cleary.
I'm Andrew Louder.
And this is SF Barkast. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.